Happy Friday, guys. So, I just finished watching Elementary. And, okay, first of all, I need to talk about this before I even get into the episode. The name of the episode is called The Leviathan. And if you watch any other kind of shows, like Supernatural, for instance, that's my main one anyway, you know that there's a creature on there called the Leviathan. And for a moment there, I was like, huh, what's this about? What's this gonna be about? It can't be about that because it's a whole different show. But it was interesting because it's a funny word for me, Leviathan. The Leviathan, in this case, in this episode, was a securely, a secure safe, basically, that held diamonds, among other treasures in this building. And so, I found it interesting, actually, because the first scene is of a burglar unlocking this very, very technically layered safe to get the diamonds out. And it's a masked person, you can't see who they are. And so I was like, oh, that's neat, that's cool. I don't know why I think that's interesting to watch that kind of stuff. I don't know, it's weird to me, I don't know, because they make it look cool in a way, which I'm sure it's a pretty freaking nerve-wracking if someone would do that. I have no plans to do that, that's crazy, it's crazy stuff, you get caught. But they were very meticulous about how they were doing that. They had gloves on, they had the whole 9 yards, they were just sick. And it wasn't done with a pick, as most locks are done. You can't do it with that kind because the little, I can't remember what the phrase is for them, but the things, you know, that you turn behind the, a lock, like in a safe in a bank or something, they were too large, so anytime you try to do it with a pick, it wouldn't catch, it just wouldn't work. And so, I did something else. This is some kind of code, because there's a code for the safe, and I can't remember how it's done, but I thought that was interesting. Okay, so the first scene after that, I'm telling you, I was like, what the fuck, okay? So, Sherlock apparently he's experimenting sexually. As we know, he's not averted to sex in this elementary. And so, okay, first Watson, she hears the doorbell ring because she has to go into the door because Sherlock's not around, I guess, or whatever. Turns out, guess who? The first thing she sees before she gets to the door, because you know her room's upstairs. She sees a girl in Sherlock's t-shirt, the one where he says, "I'm not Irish, I'm lucky." The one with the clover on it, which is really cute. I love that shirt. She was wearing that with nothing else at all, with glasses on, which looks weird on her. Then, seconds later, because the girl says, "I'm sorry, Sherlock's busy right now, but I'm not really dressed for this, so would you mind getting the door?" She turns back around when the doorbell rings again, and it's not the same girl. It's dead, it's her twin. And I'm like, really, Sherlock? Really? You really gonna go there? And so he comes after the second one. The twin, they're called the Lynch sisters or whatever. And so Sherlock comes after the second one, who's offering Watson crepes. And I'm like, oh my god, what the fuck, Sherlock, really? And Watson was just baffled because she didn't know they were there or whatever. And then he's like, go into the door. If it's for me, I'm not here. I'm about to go like, that's bad. I just want to see the Lynch sisters off. And I'm like, really? He's like, you're, he's like, we have a very mutualistic relationship. I have them to see the differences in their genetic makeup as far as the differences as their twins. And Watson's like, I didn't want to know. And then he starts to try and go into details about it, like their differences. And she's like, I don't want to hear it. And so she just goes to the door, and that's when the case starts. And it's a guy who's, I guess, that's who's the safe is for, or he made the safe, which is called the Leviathan. And what happened is, whoever got into it, got through all the layers, and the guy was trying to figure out, there was like, and he said it's impossible to get into the safe. And so Sherlock, as you know, he likes to fiddle with things that are like that. Like, he likes messing with locks and stuff. And so he goes to inspect the crime scene. And first there's this guy who has a German name, which means green stick or something like that. And Sherlock he tells him that's what his name is. And he's like, I'm consulting for the NYPD, so he can go in there. And so he does. And he's confused. Sherlock gets confused and irritated because he couldn't open the damn lock. This is what he had to do. So I'm guessing it's several hours later, and they're still there, him and Watson, and the place is closed. And the green stick man, comes and tells him that, and he says, and he just doesn't move. He sits there again, and Watson's like, I have to go to brunch with my mother in the morning, and I don't want to be sitting here without being dressed to be meeting her. If you can't just get over it that you cannot get into this lock yourself, get into the safe yourself. Well, guess what he does? Because he gets infuriated about it, and he looks over. There's an extinguisher nearby, right? And so he knocks the glass in and grabs the axe out of there. And he friggin' smashes the little access denied granite thing on the lock part of the safe, and he smashes it in. And Watson is like, really? What is wrong with you? You're so upset that you couldn't get into it that you freaking messed it up. And so they go home, and so the next morning, Watson's phone's getting blown up by the security company because of how much it'll take to repair that one thing. Because Sherlock smashes it with the axe, and that was insane. So I was like, okay, no shit, it'd be expensive. And then and so she's about to go meet her mom, and Sherlock turns to her because her keys are in this little thing, because I guess he made a contraption or something, and he's trying to experiment. She's like, why are my keys sitting there? He's like, they were the perfect weight. I'm like, okay, whatever, Sherlock. And then he's like, why are you dressed like, you're still trying to impress your brother. You dressed like you're going to a job interview instead of going to see someone you love. And I was like, oh god. And then she just leaves, and she meets her mother. Her mother, as I expected, does not approve of her daughter's new occupation as a sober companion. And they don't really go into it at first because Sherlock keeps calling her. And so she's like, I have to take this, because she was irritated with her mom, because her mom was being not very motherly. Well, she was being motherly, but she was being not good. And so, what happens next is Sherlock tells her to meet her at Sing Sing prison, because they're gonna meet one of the guys who originally broke into this safe. Because there was a crew of 4 men who broke into the safe before. And apparently the person who's breaking into it now is a copycat who was on the juror. Yes, I just gave you that clue right there. Okay. So, and then they go to, because one of the guys who were in the original crew who opened the safe agreed to meet with them. And so in order to give them any kind of information, because he found out the name of the alias of the man who may have did it this time, he's like, will this get me out of here or something? And Sherlock just nods. I don't know if the man ever got out of there, because they didn't show me in after this meeting. And so he told him the alias name, and it's it's a very well-known name. I lost the name because I kept repeating it during the episode because I was trying to remember exactly the name. So there's always some kind of myth and like different kind of tales of people. I could search it right now, but there's tales of different kind of spooks and of people who have done things before, and this was one of those well-known names. And so I was like, really, they're gonna bring that in here? And so Sherlock knew of it before, and dang it, it's not there. Of it before, and he was like, well, Watson was like, that's impossible. And then he had to say his line twice. His famous line. And so I was like, okay. And I actually repeated it because I knew he was about to say it. So it's like, he's gonna say it, so I had to say it. He said it 3 times in this episode, one episode. And so, and then after they met the guy, they found a connection between the man who was like over one part of the stolen necessity before, and he was also, I think, the chairman of something else, and it connected him, right? Then on a closer inspection on the photos of the Greek coins and of the man, they found a link. So he had a cufflink on, right? And on his cufflink, it was a Greek coin, the same one that had been stolen by the mythological person. And so he's like, that's the guy. And so they go find him, and guess what happens. And I knew before they asked to meet him, I knew what was about to happen, because it just, it seemed obvious to me. It had to happen. So the man who they thought was the guy who had cracked into the safe 2 days ago. Before I get to this part, I have to explain. So Sherlock sees a painting on the wall, and he's like, because it looks too real to be really real. So he grabs his coat. He's wearing his coat, right? So he takes it off, and he punches the glass in. And then, well, no, he doesn't punch it. I think he has some kind of tool, and he smashes it. And Watson's like, what are you doing? Because I guess the mother of the man who they went to go see, or wife, or went to go get the son, I guess. So he smashes it, and they hear that. And so Sherlock takes, it's like a knife or something he had in his pocket, and he starts slicing open the parts of the painting that's on top. There's just like a painting inside. And guess what that second painting is? An original Van Gogh. And I was like, oh my god, really? So that was proof that this guy who they thought it was had stolen before as that person. God, I feel bad because I can't remember what it was, even though I kept saying it over and over, and I can't remember. Because it's a weird name, but it's something I've heard before. And, so next, so after that, the man says, it's impossible that my father had, stolen these, what you say he has, these diamonds, and then they take him in there, and the man, he looks like he had just had a stroke, and they said he did, because he's shaking, and he hasn't spoken. You can tell he's hooked up to a machine, and he's just sitting there. And so, I was like, oh, yeah, I knew this was about to happen, I knew it. And so they found, I have to tell you what happened with the case, what happened. Okay, so, what happens is, they find another link with the jurors who had, put the men behind bars, the ones that are behind bars, who else was on the team who originally opened, who have stolen before, they were like a thieving crew or something. So each of them have different parts. And the 3 that were inside the bar now, they got convicted by a jury. And the jury had, there were like 3 people in the jury who kept in contact with each other. when you're a jury, most people don't really talk to the jurors except for part of the case. And so what happens is those 3 people or 4 people were in cahoots, and they made this one happen. And what happens is Sherlock and Gregson and Watson, everyone who's, in the police force, they go to look for these 4 people who were the ones who were behind the new heist. And okay, they each start dying one by one, except the last one. And this is what happens. So I'm gonna close this one up for you. So one of the blood that came, they found blood on the last person who died, like not on the person, but inside the house. There's blood droplets on the door, not on the door. It's like on the ground, like some grounds. Oh, actually, like you see that on the ground there? Well, not there. Well, it's like that. It's like the windowsill, but it's on the floor, and it shows it's like that, and there was blood right there, and it's made out of wood. And so first Watson and them hadn't seen it, but then because Pregnant came then, and Sherlock was playing a piano piece, and he was like, "This is what happens. You need to find DNA and swab from all those jurors in order to find who's left." And so was the problem here. First, they thought there was no possible way that they could to get the killer, so they swabbed everyone who was left. And cause Sherlock came in the room and talked to them, was saying that one of them was a killer, and all of them were like, "What?" Their eyes went wide. It was crazy, except this one guy who ended up doing it at the end anyway, but who was the person who had been killing them. But he thought he was nervous about it, like doing the swab himself, and that kind of tipped everyone off that it has to be him. But the DNA didn't match to the blood that was on the floor, because the blood spatter came from when the last guy who died punched him in the nose, and he broke his nose, so it was blood gushing on the floor. And so Sherlock was like, is there a problem? And the guy's like, "No, there's no problem." And so he just swabbed himself. So it turns out this guy who was the one who broke up the safe, he came in contact with the original guy who broke the safe, who was in that first group of thieves, and he was dying. The man who was in jail, he was dying. So in order to give money to his family before he died, he got money from the guy who just did it, and he was trying to hide that he'd been killing these people off. Give him money in order to find out the secret, in order how to get in there, because it's a lot of layers to get past in order to get there. And so what happens next? So Sherlock, they find out, okay, the DNA matched with the blood on the floor was of a woman who was a chaplain in the army, and she was actually overseas. She's been overseas for a couple weeks, and they were like, "This isn't right." And then because they go in her house, and she's not there, obviously, and it looks like no one's been there for a while. And this is what happens. Watson spots a little pendant where it's green, and it has a little pin on it, and it's a green ribbon on it. It has like a white pin on it. It says, "I have donated. I am a donor," or something like that, because she donated bone marrow. And if you don't know this, marrow patients, people who have gotten marrow donated to them, have the blood makeup, the DNA makeup of the donor in their bloodstream. So when it comes to swabbing your mouth, your DNA is your DNA. But when it comes to the blood, you have the DNA makeup of your donor. And so that's what Sherlock told him when they brought him in for him to give a blood sample, because he was the guy after all, and his DNA was different from the bone marrow, his actual blood. So that's what happened. And so he was killing people off because he didn't want them to give away the fact that he was the one who had gotten to the safe and stole the diamonds. And so that happened, and that was interesting. And this side, okay, now that the case is over, I have to tell you about the other part. Okay, so there's always the personal side. So Sherlock agreed for Watson. Like, he got into her phone, because she has a code on her phone, but he unlocked it because it was simple. He unlocked it, and he replied to a text. So her brother calls her, and he's coming in town, and they're gonna have a family dinner because he's bringing his girlfriend named Gabriella, and they might get married. That's what Sherlock said. He's like, I have an idea. She's gonna be your fiance soon. Because he goes to the dinner. He says that he and Watson are both going to the dinner. She looks at him like, what? So it turned before that she thought he wasn't coming, because then that's when the case turned into a murder investigation. They didn't, but apparently it slowed down and he couldn't. So he's like, I'm gonna go to the dinner. So when she arrives, he's there talking to her family, and this is the sweetest thing. Okay, he freaking talks her up for her family. Like, he gives them a reason to like her job as a circle companion. He tells her about how she's helped with investigations and stuff, and then her mom ends up visiting her at Sherlock's house because Sherlock gave her his card, and Watson didn't know about it. She's like, Mom, what are you doing here? And so I almost thought there was going to be another argument, but there wasn't. What happens was, she's like, I only have a couple weeks left with Sherlock, and then I'll be on to my next companion and my next client. And she's like, but will it make you happy? I saw a spark in your eye at the table with him, and you were very excited. You had excitement in your eyes. And I was like, oh gosh, sweet mother of God, why? I was like, here we go. And then he comes in there, like, he gives them time away, and he's like, I'm gonna go give y'all a quiet time or whatever. So he finds, because he returned, so it turns out Sherlock took the Van Gogh and he put it up on his wall during the investigation. Then he returned it back to the museum where it belonged, and because he didn't take it, he had found it. Remember, he found it on the in the wall into the man who had a stroke's place. And so he took it back in order for that man not to go to jail, since he's already sick. His family gave Sherlock and Watson most of the stolen artifacts, basically. And so Sherlock keeps that one, but he's gonna return it. So he returns it. So the news is talking. He's like, I have something I want to show you. Right when when Watson and her mom are having a moment, and she didn't answer her question either about would it make her happy? Would she be happy without Sherlock, basically? Because she's so excited. She has good times with him during his investigations or whatever. And so this is what happened next. On the TV, it's of the return of the Van Gogh painting, basically. And Sherlock just leaves after that. It's her mom, it was Watson, and her mom just smile, and he just leaves. And that's how the episode ends. And I have this feeling, for some reason, that the finale, or an upcoming episode coming soon, but the finale will be Watson's decision to either stay with Sherlock or leave. I don't know. For some reason, I feel that that's just something major they were leading up to. They're slowly edging it up to get to that point, and I don't want to leave. I mean, what's Watson without Holmes? I'm just saying, or Holmes without Watson, rather. Really. Speaking of Watson, or dear Watson, not this Watson, but another Watson, who we know who played Watson for, Martin Freeman. His movie is out, The Hobbit. I'm so excited as an LTR person who loves the Lord of the Rings franchise. I'm very excited to see The Hobbit. I'm going tomorrow. Today I'm getting my hair cut. As you see, it's not cut yet. I did mention in the last video that I posted yesterday, my vlog, that I was getting my hair cut. And so I'm getting my hair cut today, I'll probably be there a little bit after this video is posted. And so tomorrow I will be going with two of my best friends to go see The Hobbit, which I'm excited about. It's gonna be awesome. I'm excited to see Martin as Bilbo. It's gonna be awesome. And so you'll see my little reaction video about that. And see my friends, because I'm gonna include them in there. It'll be cool. And so I will see you guys soon. I hope you all well. Hope you have a wonderful weekend. I will be having a wonderful weekend. So I will see you guys tomorrow. Excuse me. Bye.